Welcome back, everyone. I'm Halima Sharif, your host and producer for Anything and Everything, an internet based show which acknowledges humanity at its core and recognizes that everyone has a story. In June 2020, I decided to create something meaningful and entertaining to help ease the sadness and frustration caused by the pandemic. In less than a year, we have produced over 25 episodes within the following categories: the New Orleans music legends, women of color catalysts and their allies, the Artist Circle, and the Brotherhood Circle. I've interviewed such notables as former executive writer producer of The Martin Lawrence Show, Kenny Buford, New Orleans jazz legend Edward Kid Jordan, Jermaine Bazo and Roger Dickerson, actor, comedian, and Saturday Night Live's first Black actor Gary Morris, famed comedian actress Lunel, First Lady Jill Biden's Chief of Staff Julissa Reynosa, Kimba Hendricks, Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the House of Representatives, and Suba Berry, Ceramount's President and CEO. The show can be found on YouTube as well as in podcast form on major platforms. For more information, visit www.anythingandeverythingmedia.com. I know it has been more than a minute since I have graced you with some amazing guests, but don't worry, we're still in production and I have some great conversations in store for you. I am thrilled today to welcome a wonderful guest to our Women of Color Catalyst platform, a leading SVP and General Counsel in the sports and entertainment industry, Joi Garner. Welcome, Joi. It's so great to see you again.
Oh, it's great to see you too, Halima. I feel like I'm amongst great company. I'm listening to that list like, oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, listen, you are a great company. My goodness, you've done some amazing things, lady.
Thank
Um, I,
you.
I can't even remember the last time we connected because we both worked together at MediaLink.
hmm
I just realized you started the same year I started in 1999. So that we're
What if
talking 22 years.
98? I started in 98.
Okay, well, you're a year ahead of me. So
Yeah,
I
I
started
started
in
in 98.
99.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm getting old, girl. Anyway, it is so great to reconnect with you. I want to go read your bio and then we're going to go into some questions for the audience.
Sure.
Joi Garner served as board member, executive vice president, general counsel, and corporate secretary for Think 450, the National Basketball Players Association's licensing and marketing subsidiary. She brings nearly 20 years of experience in sports and entertainment, a wealth of knowledge in strategic contract negotiations, content creation, event production, and management. A Philadelphia native, Joi began her career at Violator Records in management while simultaneously attending New York University in the mid 1990s. After graduating with a degree in communications, Joi began working at MediaLink Worldwide, a broadcast PR firm. That was in 1988, 1998. I'm giving you
Ooh.
extra age on you, girl. In 2004, she returned to school to pursue a law degree to further expand her portfolio and create more opportunities. After earning her JD from the University of California Hastings College of Law, Joi became a corporate attorney at Morrison and Foerster. Following her tenure working in the Tokyo and New York offices of Morrison and Foerster, she returned to sports and media and joined the sports and entertainment group of Garvey Schubert Barra. The group represented top female tennis icons, athletes, actors, rappers, and reality stars. While at Garvey Schubert Barra, Joi was named to Super Lawyers list of rising stars in sports and entertainment in the New York metro area, a distinction reserved for the top 2.5% of young lawyers in their fields, and received the National Black Lawyers distinction of top 40 under 40. With a desire to marry her corporate and entertainment experiences, Joi took the position of Associate General Counsel at the New York Racing Association, where she was responsible for commercial and technical contracts, commercial litigation, sweepstakes, and contests, and acted as production counsel for NYRA's television shows. Joi's former position as EVP, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary of Think 450 is a culmination of her years of experience in sports and entertainment. With her considerable experience in media, basketball, and stringent work ethic, she played an integral part of Think 450's management. Joi led Think 450's operations and corporate governance compliance. She was the lead negotiator on the National Basketball Players Association largest licensing deals, including those with Take Two Interactive NBA 2K, Nike, and Panini America. Joi was also instrumental to the NBPA's partnership with Anheuser-Busch, as well as the NBPA Social Justice Initiatives, which is DoorDash, hashtag Pay It Forward Challenge supporting Black-owned businesses, and Kia Motors' holiday campaign to provide much-needed relief to families impacted by the pandemic. When Joi is not creating or executing strategic plans, she seeks to expand diversity in the sports, entertainment, legal, and licensing pipelines. She enjoys art and culture in New York City, traveling, and spending time with family, friends, and her Labradoodle named Carrie. Joi has recently gotten some exciting news that I would like her to share with you as it regards her journey. Joi, you want to share that before we go any further?
Well, I'm back at NYRA, the New York Racing Association, back like I never left.
That's awesome.
I came back. The general counsel retired recently, and we were. I think 450 was also going through some management changes, and so I came back. I'm now at NYRA as their SVP and General Counsel and Corporate Secretary. So when I was in the department, I came back to run it. So this is what I'm doing now.
That is awesome. You know, you said earlier that how do you fit in this equation? You didn't say it like that, but you fit in this equation amazingly, and you have done some wonderful things in your career, and I'm so proud of you. I
Thank
want to
you.
start with a first question. Let's start with your upbringing and
Mhm.
what may have served as a catalyst to where you are today.
Right. So I was born in South Philly. Lived in South Philly and went to for most of my young life, and then we moved to the suburbs of Philadelphia to a town called North Wales, population 3,000, right? And I say population 3,000 because every time I go somewhere, I run into somebody from North Wales that's moved to. So when I think 450, there was a man there that grew up in North Wales, Pennsylvania, and then when I was in Tokyo, again, population 3,000. I'm in Tokyo. We had an intern. The intern walks in. I said, "Oh, where are you from?" He said, "Pennsylvania." And I said, "Where?" He's like, "Outside of Philly." And you go, "Where?" He said, "North Wales." I wanted to fall out because I'm like, what are you doing over here? So
Exactly.
North Wales buds a lot of talent. We all trying to leave, but they bud a lot of talent. um, but I was a sports fan, hardcore. You say in Philly, I grew up saying like, "Go Eagles, go Flyers, go Sixers, go." I mean, sports is in my blood. Has been in my blood. Um, and so when I started working, one of the I started at Media Link, and I remember one day I'm on the train. I was doing PR, and I'm doing train. I'm like, "What? How did I get?" I used to have to go in really early to call, and Lima used to remember this. We used to call for satellite media tours
Oh
first thing in
gosh.
the morning. Used to call like the news directors on the West Coast, and basically on the East Coast to the West Coast. The news directors start their day at 5, and so in PR you would start your day at 5. Um, and I remember looking, saying, "How am I? How did I end up here? It's 5 a.m. and I'm on the phone pitching a story that I wasn't super excited about." I took a look at what I wanted to do, what I was actually interested in, and started moving and making my career more into the sports entertainment field. And that's as simple as I could say how I ended up where I am. Is that I made concerted efforts to be here.
Well, you know what? And Media Link was one of those places. Gosh, I don't even want to think back that far. Waking up, I can't stand pitching reporters to this day.
Hmm.
Um, but it was a stepping stone in our lives, and I'm sure it played a major role in your development. You know, the connecting dots to everything.
Absolutely, because before then I was at well, I was in school, but I was working at Violator Records and Management. And that was a crazy experience because the group was so small and so young,
Wow.
so young. And so I was able to learn everything and learn a lot of things because you were just basically thrown in the fire. Like, we need this done, get it done. And so I had that mentality when I started at Media Link of get it done, but Media Link was very instrumental in putting some order to my learning and how I went about my day and how, so like you had to pitch people at 5 a.m., which means you'd be up at 5. You needed to be up at 5 a.m. Then you had to have a plan because you wanted to hit everybody before their morning show started. So you had to get to the West Coast before 8 a.m., right?
That's right. That's right.
Way before 8 a.m. their time. And so Media Link Berry was really instrumental in who I ended up being professionally, only because it added order to it. But I would say Violator and working with, you didn't ask this question, but Violator working with Mona Scott and Chris Lighty, Mona Scott Young now, but Mona Scott and Chris Lighty, of that get it done attitude. Client is right, client is first, do it. Definitely was instrumental in my growth.
Chris Lighty, amazing. Those are some great names from way back when, and I'm sure that too played a role in your overall development. Speaking of some of the names, who were some of your influencers in the industry, and maybe not necessarily in the industry, but maybe a family, a friend, or someone else?
So I didn't mention this when we were saying. So my family in Pennsylvania has had a restaurant business for a number of years, since I'm about 10. And so I've seen my mother and my uncle, it was my uncle's business with his wife, my aunt. My mom ran operations for 30 years, run a business. And amazing. So I would say they would be my biggest inspiration, because when anybody that's been in a family business knows that that's what Thanksgiving is, Christmas, Sunday dinner. As there's no getting around hearing all the stories of what's going on in the store, what's going on from the corporate perspective. So I think that my watching my mom would probably be my biggest influencer in early life. When I think now, the funny thing is I still refer to things that I learned at Thanksgiving table through the Thanksgiving corporate arguments.
Hey, that's where it started.
Right. So I still refer to those things now, but now when I look at people, the people that I look up to and I would like, their careers are really influential to me. It would be Payne Brown, who's the president that I just worked under, Chrissa Chin, who when I finish my career and I hang up my sneaks, the career and the respect that she has, I would be very, very, very proud. So some of the people I look to now for advice and just even how to operate through this little world we work in.
Hey, it's more than a little world. It's a pretty big world. What type of restaurant did your family have?
McDonald's. It was a McDonald's. For people in Philly, that Club McDonald's still owned by my cousin. So go ahead on over to Raw and Diamond and get yourself something. Be nice and kind to the people that work there.
Yes.
Very, very hard to staff those stores nowadays. So be nice.
I can only imagine. Joi, let's talk about your love and appreciation for the legal, sports, entertainment, and media world.
So I think my love for the sports and entertainment, I got it very, very young. And I say that I've been protecting athletes since I was in junior high, because I was a manager of our basketball team back when in junior high, when Mr. Miller was teaching, and my friend Nakia Scott and I back then would take score and buzz the subs and things like that. We were managers back then. And so when I got into the legal field, it really is about protecting your client, right? And as I've moved into sports and entertainment, it's just a combination of that, right? Protecting athletes, and now in horse racing, it's even protecting athletes, and meaning the human athletes and the animal, our equine safety is a huge deal at NYRA too. It's all about running a good game, running a good sport, keeping it healthy and keeping it safe for the athletes and safe for the bettors. So people are wagering on a clean sport. And so I think that's that love for the game and love for protecting. I guess that's my quality is the protection is what has me in the legal field and doing what I'm doing now.
So what team are you rooting for as it relates to football and basketball?
I guess I can say now, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
so I used to. Okay, so when I was at Think 450, I was not. Oh no, I just want every athlete to be healthy and safe. But which I still do. I do. I
Yeah, of
still
course.
do. I am an Eagles fan through and through. I can't. You can't take it out of me. Um, I love the Sixers. I do. I trust the process. Coach Rivers, when I was at the NBA, which I went to the NBA in the early 2000s, late 99, and I did PR. I was a publicist back then. Um, when I was there, Coach Rivers was so nice he was just so kind and treated us with such like
Yeah.
grace. And I was, a young PR person, you know what I mean? But so kind back then. And so for him to be in Philadelphia playing, coaching my team, I'm rooting for the Sixers. We'll work it
It's
out.
okay. You can build, I'm a Who Dat girl. I'm a New Orleans girl. We'll always be a Who Dat. And we lost our complete mind yesterday with that game, but that's
Hmm.
another story.
Yeah.
So I wanna go back to, not Media Link. We've already talked about Media Link, but NBA, Think 450, and now NYRA. What were some of the dynamics and the synergy? I'm sure you had a great um, tenure there, the time you spent, and I'm sure they all connected the dots some kind of way beyond sports.
Yeah. Beyond sports, it really is. And each place. So when I was let me go back. At the NBA, I was doing PR, right?
Yes.
And it was there that I really thought, like, what am I? Okay, I had to sit back and say, what am I doing with my career? Like at that point, like, what am I going to be a publicist forever? Is this what I want to do? And at that time, I looked, and there was Adam Silver and David Stern and Mark. What is Mark's last name? But they were running the NBA,
Okay.
and they all had JD MBAs. And I thought, well, all right. If you knew anything about David Stern, you knew he was the ultimate publicity guy.
Yes.
Like he knew PR like the back of his hand. He was
Everything.
great at it, right? And that's one of the reasons why he had manned such a strong team with Brian McIntyre, Terry Washington, Terry Lyon. He had this huge team of sports PR people because he knew it was important. And I thought, everybody that's in charge of all the leagues has a JD MBA. I'm going to go ahead and get my law degree because that's going to take me further in sports than seems readily apparent, right?
Yes.
So I went back, got my law degree. Now the difference, not the difference, but what's going on at Think 450 and what's going on now at NYRA, pretty much the same, very similar things. Think 450 was a startup in 2017. I started in 2018. The players had just gotten the right to commercialize their images back from the NBA, and they were starting this for-profit business. That for-profit business was Think 450. And I was really excited to join them and help build out this strategy to build the company. Before then, I'd been at NYRA, and NYRA at the time was coming out of uh, state control. So at that time, the government, the state of New York had controlled most of the board of NYRA. And when I was there the first time in 2016, 2018, we were really trying to transition out of that. So it was a growth period for NYRA at that time. Go to Think 450. Think 450 is a startup. I'm there at Think 450 for 3 years. I think we did a great job. I mean, if I could tell you what the numbers were, I'm very proud of the job I did at Think
You
450.
should be. Yes.
I'm very proud of what happened there through that growth period. And now I'm back at NYRA, and we're in a super growth period as well. It's hard to say like a company that's been around for decades. I would say a century, but I think I might be overstating it. But it's at least decades. Could be in such a hyper growth period. So right now we're focusing on content with the law changing on sports gambling. We want to move into more mobile gambling. Partnerships like the partnership we just announced with BetMGM.
Yes.
Packaging content. It's a really, really exciting time to be at Naira, another growth period. And so I'm learning through myself is what I like to do is start a company and start and work with companies that are in the beginning of or in the middle of kind of a transition. And I think that's what I really enjoy doing. So I think that's how they all tie together. Well, Naira and Think 450 tie together because both of them were transitions, both trying to grow and build revenue, but build also a great product. And I think that's what I'm here to do.
Hey, that's a great synergy. Are you able to talk about the partnership with MGM?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So we just MGM just launched their a mobile wagering site for horse racing.
Okay.
They launched on Friday in Ohio, and they're starting with Naira content. And so we Naira packages content, so we have our races and races from other tracks as well. So MGM that might want to launch a horse racing site will come to Naira and say, "Hey, let's license some of this content." They can come one stop, have the content, and we'll partner with them to distribute horse racing and provide a platform for people to wager on.
You know what? As I'm listening to you speak, whether a person is a fan of horse racing or whatever that segment may be, the marriage of law, media, content, you see it all. It's all coming together.
Mhm.
Content management, but at the same time, the legal aspects of that too. So, that has been an asset in your growth.
And thank you. It actually has. I didn't realize how much content was going to be a part of my career as I was going. Like you think of sports, you think like, oh, just the actual sport, but really, it's the packaging of that sport and
That's right.
the commercializing of it. And now, we definitely don't consume content even just by this platform alone. We don't consume content the way
No,
that you
no.
and I grew up consuming it, right?
No,
Um,
you're so right. And I mean, as much writing as I do, I think about some of the clients I work with, whether it's entertainment, medical, especially medical, goodness gracious,
mhm,
especially pharmaceutical clients, content content is always important,
mhm.
but it's the language and how you use that language which really makes a difference because one word, as you know, you're an attorney, I'm not. One word could get you in trouble.
Yeah. Well, there's
You know?
a podcast that I listen to, or I used to listen to, and the host used to say words mean things. And I'm like, yes. And so I took that and I'll say it at work. I'm like, well, words actually, this is completely the wrong word. If that's what you're trying to say, they
Words
mean
mean
things. You
things.
can't just keep saying stuff and it have no impact on how I understand what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, people, and it's hilarious. Social media is just hilarious to me. It's like the whole world is a stage, and a lot of times, you really have to be careful what you put out there, especially if you're in your industry, my industry,
Hmm.
because, like I said, one word can take you off on another tangent. So, it's definitely helped out in your journey. I can see. What sets you apart from others in your industry?
I think it is, there's a couple things. One, I think it's the PR background. I think
Okay.
it's very easy as a lawyer to become very dogmatic,
Hmm.
sharp for your client. This is right. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right. I'm going to get the best result for my client, which you should, right? Sometimes, though, the best result has to figure in what the public is going to say about the result, right? And having the PR background, I think helps a lot because I'll get sent a release or I'll see something and I'll read it and say, is this factually true? Yes, it's factually true. That's not doesn't mean that it's good to go. It needs to be factually true and also tell the story. And I think tell the story and be in line with what the story that the organization or my client at the time is telling. Um, and that's not changing the facts. That really is just saying, making sure the story gets in there as well. Um, I am someone that when we're very close to closing a deal, I'm always going to say, did we get PR in it? Did the PR
Hmm.
comment on this? And the head of communications at each organization is like, thank you. Because
You're thinking about us. Yeah.
Oftentimes it comes way too late. Like, oh, we closed this. The communications person is like, what am I supposed to do with, with this deal that you just did? So that's one of the things. The other thing is, I think in non when you talk about people of the majority, they grow up and they get the benefit of the doubt. They grew up in these families where, oh, my dad ran this company for a million years, and they did get all this imputed
Yep.
information. I'll give that some credit, but I'm going to go ahead and say, well, I have it too, because I sat there and I sat there and I watched a company be built from the
Yes.
age of 10, and I watched it be run and send my sister and I through college and things like. And I think that having that as a basis does differentiate me, because I have a HR perspective that many people don't have. Without Many people don't have without having gone through HR training and HR school and human relations school and employee relations schooling. I have that kind of sensibility because I've seen it. I've seen how people interact in the workplace my whole life, and so I think those are two things that actually differentiate me from the average lawyer.
Hey, that's some great information. Those are some great nuggets. And I'm thinking about, whomever's watching this audience wise, whether it's someone who's interested in a career like yours, media, PR, legal, the fact that you had all of that when you were coming up, it sort of like structured you from an organizational management standpoint. When you look at
Mhm.
the HR side of it, as you mentioned, I mean, you don't think about those things when you're coming up. You just know your family's running a business, but you're exposed to that. Whether
Yeah,
you're exposed to business, music, or whatever that lifestyle may be, it became a part of your psyche. And
yeah, it did absolutely. And for those who don't, because obviously you can't change what you're where you grew
that's
up.
right.
I think it's important though to always have that in the back of your mind of like
Yes,
every time I close a deal, I know somebody has to actually execute on this deal.
exactly.
And so we need to think about what is execution, what is implementation going to look like. It comes a bit more natural for me, but I think it's something that most people you can pick up if you make it a thought that that's something that you want to pick up, right? Like,
Yes, definitely.
right.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
Joey, who are some people as well as major projects you've worked on or with? And I'm going to share a few photos as you're going through all that, but you
Mhm.
can start talking.
So I mentioned some in the beginning. I think I talked about Payne Brown, who taught me how to. He was the president of Think 450. I served as his general counsel under him, and he is an ideas man. He like if you present him with a problem, he's going to have 75 solutions. Um, and he taught me how to test someone, to to
Mhm.
to say and learn how to say no as a lawyer.
Yes,
um, and the point of saying no was he would let me say no because we would just push until finally you get the right answer, right? Someone who has a million ideas, you could just keep saying that's not going to work for this reason. They're going to go back to the room and come out. What about this? What about
hmm
this? And he taught me very much how to build an organization, but also that's something that I would need, right? Like no one does it. He's not somebody that says he's going to do it by himself. Um, and then to the extent that now that I've gotten the position I'm in now, I told my deputy counsel, I'm like, I need you to consistently tell me no, so I can come back and tinker with something until it's right. Um, and so that's one of the things I learned from him. I'm trying to think of who else. I look at this is going to sound so funny, and if Mona ever watches this, she'll be like, "What?" So when we worked together in the mid '90s, I was a kid, and I couldn't understand her back then. She strives for perfection,
Okay.
absolute perfection. And back then, her assistant chair, we used to call her revolving door, because she demanded perfection, and I didn't get it, right?
Mm.
Like, I'm like, good enough was good enough for me back then. Um, Now that I'm in my current position and I see what she was in, back then, I'm like, I understand so much more. And it's one of those things like, just do what I say, not what I do. Because now that it's something that I do too. Just demand the absolute best effort that someone can give you. And when people don't give it, it's okay to say, that's all right.
That's right.
But absolute best effort. And so I think she would probably professionally has a big influence just because I saw her, demanding that. And now that I understand what it takes to be successful, especially as a woman in this industry, what it takes to be
Yes.
successful is, listen, you're not going to be perfect every single time, but if you're not striving for it, then you're not going to even come close, right?
That's right. You can say that again.
And so the demanding the best effort, demanding perfection and consistency, from Mona Scott, she actually ended up having a huge impact on who I am as a professional now, despite the fact that she probably like, oh, she hated me back then, but
Well, those are things we think of people. I can think of a few people whose name I won't mention it, but I appreciate them now. You
yes,
know,
right,
folks who were matter of fact, I can remember. You remember Lidge Lewis? I'll mention his name because he knows the story.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
Lidge is he's such a great guy. And I remember when I first got to Media Link and I had to write this financial piece, and I couldn't stand finance.
yeah.
I couldn't stand finance. I'm like, what in the world am I writing about? I had no clue. So I
Mhm,
was just making up stuff out the side of my neck and thought I knew what I was talking about,
mhm.
and showed it to him, and he just blasted me out. I'm like, okay, well, there goes my job, you
Right.
know. But, but he challenged me,
Yeah.
and he's like, go back and do it again. And I appreciate that, especially considering New York. New York
Mhm.
market is no joke. So those folks in your life, whether they served as mentors or not, served as a way for you to look into this lens into the future where you are today. Joy,
Right.
I'm going to show a picture. It's
Mhm.
not. It's just like little clips I just grabbed.
Okay.
Internet is so nice these
Yeah.
days. So tell me about this. This was 28 powerful Black leaders in marketing and media. Check you out, girl.
Well, one thing I was shocked and awed when Markham Weekly announced this. It said, and the it was a guy I was working with at the time. He was like, "Did you say you were listed on this?" I said, "Wait, what?" Like, I was very very shocked. But part of
You
that
had no
was
idea.
I didn't know it was 20. So it
That's
says
amazing.
28. It's a listing 28. It wasn't the top 28, but it is 28. They were, but I had no idea. I had no idea it was coming out. And also, I think it's a tribute to hard work,
Yes.
and I think it's something that our generation does. We just put our head down and keep working, and then we don't notice when other people
Yes.
say, "Oh, look what you've done." You're like, "What? What did I do?"
It's just been working.
Yeah, because in the end, you say, "I just did my job. Like I did my job. I left, hung out with my friends, came back, and did my job again." Um, so it was real. I was actually really, really proud of that because one, I didn't know that it was happening, but two, it was one of those moments where I got to look and say, "Wow, oh yeah, I did do some stuff last year. That was fun."
So modest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, you
You know what I
do.
mean?
And then you love what you do. So that's even better.
That's
You
the
know,
thing. If you're doing something that's, within your purpose and what you like and you love what you do, or at least like what you do most of the days, then
exactly.
you can
You're gonna strive.
yeah, I think so.
So here's one, a big old blast from the past, girl.
Yes.
Think
Big
450.
blast
So
of the past. And this was when was this a promote? Oh, this was when I just started when I came over from the New York Racing Association. Again, Think 450 was just starting. I started February 2018. Think 450 was formed July 2017.
okay.
Um, and so they were just starting. I was the second attorney at the time. And then it was in July of that year, I believe, when I became the general counsel of Think 450 as well. The general counsel of Think 450 went on to the Players Association to run the actual union. I don't know if you know the difference is a union is the unions you've grown up seeing your whole the electricians union. Well, the
Yes.
NBPA is the union for basketball players.
Okay.
Unions can't actually generate a revenue. They're out there to serve their membership, to fight with management.
Yes.
Think 450 was the for-profit arm of or subsidiary of the union that was out there to create and generate revenue, generate wealth for the collective group of players.
So you said they were pretty much in the startup phase, and they began in what, 2017?
2017. Before then, the main way that sports unions that have this right make any revenue is through selling the likenesses of the collective of all of the players, as opposed to each player can do their own, obviously. But if a company like 2K, the easiest example is 2K. A company like 2K has a video game, they need every single player in it. Now, they could spend their entire year chasing every single player and doing deals with every player to get the rights, or they can go to one place. The natural place would be the union, where all the players are a member, and get all the rights there from one place.
Okay.
So then think 450 and the players incorporated. So National Football Players Incorporated, Major League Baseball Players Incorporated, like all of those companies, they collect the collective rights and sell them as units to like trading card companies, people that need more than just one. Otherwise, a business would spend most of their time trying to get the rights.
True.
Right.
History lesson for me. See, nothing wrong with saying you don't know what's going on, but you just taught me something new.
I hope it's not too boring for people, but that is what.
No, it's not. I mean, it's see, listen, if it is, it's something new for someone to learn. Once again, this is anything and everything.
Okay.
You never know who you never know who this may touch. So let's look two more. Just do this one. So that was when you were, what was this? NBA Players Association branding.
Yeah, that was it. So Think 450 is the marketing branding arm there. I think this deal was May 2021. I think we were just closing up our deal with Dapper Lab 2021. That was this year with Dapper Labs, which is the NBA Top Shot game. So when the NFT business, which is, I believe it's currently NFT week, right?
Okay,
so
yes.
They the NFT, Dapper Labs came and approached the PA probably in late 2019, early 2020, and wanted to launch a product called NFTs, and we all looked at each other and said, "What?" And did a really, really short-term deal because it was this new product. We didn't know what it was. And then they hit the market like gangbusters. Like NBA Top Shot came out and the NFT market just skyrocketed and went berserk. And I will say that I think that the NFTs in general benefited from having from NBA players in general, because their product was so catchy because the players' images were such a commodity. Like, yes, everybody wanted them. And so around May that time, we were renewing and we were doing the longer term deal because now we know what we're talking about, right? now we're in the business. We knew what we were talking about. We were doing the longer deal with Dapper Lab, and that story was around then. That launched.
Good stuff. And last one, of course, you talked about this earlier, but this announcement was recent. What was it, October 15th?
Yep. Okay. So I'm just coming back. Again, I'm super excited to be at NYRA. There's so much going on. Where, Saratoga just wrapped up. We're super excited to welcome people back to Aqueduct on November 11th.
Oh, that's right in Elmont. I used to live there.
Yes.
No, that's not. I'm thinking about
Belmont is in Elmont. We're currently there.
That's right.
We're currently there, and we're running, but we're only there for until I think our last race is on the 7th, the Sunday before the 11th, whatever date that is. And then on November 11th, we're back at the Aqueduct. This is the first time we'll be at the Aqueduct with fans since the pandemic, because we shared the space. The Aqueduct racetrack in New York City is a vaccination center. So we've been sharing that space. So we'll be back horse racing there, and planning for Belmont Stakes and everything with fans, trying to do things safely for our fans, and then safely obviously for the animals and the sport.
Wow, you're busy, lady. I know time is of essence, and I've got like two more questions I want to ask you. What is one of your most proud? I'm sure you have many, but one of your most proud, memorable, transcending moments.
It's the funny thing. It's gonna sound silly because I don't know if it was a transcending moment, but for me, I think back of when I was thinking of I wanted to get back into sports, and then I wrote down what I wanted to do. And I wrote down like, oh, JD MBA, or do I need an MBA? But really, what I want to do is run a company and build something in the sports and entertainment industry. And I think my proudest moment was, I want to say, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I found an old journal and I
Hmm.
saw that I had written it down, and I was actually working in the industry I wanted to work in. I was working at Naira at the time. And I was building, and I was on my way at the time, I think no, I hadn't started at Think 450. And I saw that I was on my path and working in what something that I'd written down and made it. And while had been making these moves throughout my career, I don't know that I necessarily each time I moved someplace was thinking that, oh, this will take me further along that path.
Hmm.
I do think, however, writing it down back then in the late 90s, early 2000s is what got me here.
Yes.
And so I still think, I know you probably want me to say some big deal. So, but really the biggest moment for me, the proudest moment for me was that I actually wrote out what I wanted to do and I'm doing it. Um,
That's a blessing. And honestly, no, it's not about me, what you want to say. It's what you know, what you need to say.
yeah,
And you pretty much, everybody's talking about these vision boards. Vision boards were around way before people started talking about them. Okay. We started
before, yeah,
manifesting what we wanted by writing in, whether it was in a journal, whether it was a piece of paper that you said, by such and such and such. And even if you didn't have a date, you manifested it into your future. And here you are
yeah.
today. So that's a true blessing,
Mm-hmm.
you know and I think it's a testimony to other young men and women. Whatever you want, you can have it if you strive for it and be consistent.
Yes, consistent.
It's going to be a
Consistency.
struggle, but hey.
Absolutely. And when you fall off or fall back, or doesn't matter. Consistency is about getting back and doing it again.
That's right.
Is
That's
that's
right.
what consistency is. It's not every single day. I think, what did Drake say? Proof is in the progress. I believe it. Like, just moving towards where you're trying to go. And maybe he quoted somebody else, but that's who I heard it from. Drake. Like, moving in the direction you want to go. Because you cannot get there sitting.
Yeah, you surely can. Trust me.
Yeah.
Especially, when I moved to New York in 99, I realized, like, you know what? This place is moving fast and I got to keep up. And that's one of the reasons why I'm always saying keep it moving, because you really do have to keep it moving.
Yeah.
In your bio,
Hmm.
it states that when you're not creating or executing strategic plans, you seek to expand diversity in sports, entertainment, and licensing. So, just for a quick minute, talk about your stance on and position on women in this space, working and a woman of color,
Hmm.
and what has that been like for you?
Okay, so there's a couple things. Women in the workforce, in the corporate world, it's going to be it's difficult. It's just we have other things that matter to us. Like, I look at, if you even look at WNBA players, they can't just go out and win. We got to know who they're dating,
Hmm.
the gender of the person they're dating, how they look, where they're dressed. They can't just go and win the championship the way the men can, right?
No, you're
So
right.
working in this industry as a woman is just a little bit more difficult. Um, what I see as a woman of color, I try to take, and what I've tried to do in my career is take those difficult times and use and just accept them. It's
Yes.
going to be hard. It happens. What are the benefits that I can take from this? What can I exploit for this? Case in point, the average NBA player, I look like their mama. And so I can say to the average guy, I understand their life experience. And I'm saying I'm older than them. I'm much older. And I look like, so there's a kind of deference, a kind of respect. There's a kind of a common understanding and a language that we both speak. And that's not saying that I can't speak to those players that I don't look like or didn't look like. But there is something there already, a common, when many see me, they call me Miss Joy or Miss,
Yeah.
because of and I understand because they grew up, and this is a woman that's more than twice your age, could probably be your grandma. They could that's how they get the call. That's how they would, and I know how to relate, and I understand where they came from. So I try to take, it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. I grew up it's going to be twice as hard. You work twice as hard to get half as much. And I've taken that always as a fact, right? That is what the fact is. How do I use what I have as as a benefit? How do I push that forward? One of those things is that I do speak the language. I do understand. We do have a common understanding of common backgrounds. And I feel like helping to relate to these people, to the people I represent, and helping to translate the frustrations or whatever my client is going through, helping translate to the corporate world to, okay, not this is what he's saying, but you have to, without them saying it, you have to understand of what his perspective may or may not be.
That's
I
right.
don't with players anymore, but I still understand the perspective of what he may or may not be thinking, even if they didn't tell me, right?
That's right. I totally agree.
And that makes you an asset in the company, to be able to be someone that someone can rely on as a resource as well.
Hey, you can say that again.
Mm-hmm.
What's on the horizon for you?
I am really, really interested in, so obviously NYRA is growing and working in this industry. Diversifying horse racing is a huge undertaking. But I do want to make something that's important for me is letting young people know all the opportunities out there in sports and entertainment that are not with your hand on the ball.
Okay.
Meaning that you can, if you like sports, but you can't shoot, you can be an accountant, you can be a lawyer, you can be PR, you can be, you can work in retail, and the retail will take you into licensing products, which will take you into, there's so many different aspects. If you think of I told someone younger the other day, I said, you watch a game, look at everybody that has a commercial during that game. All of those companies have sports divisions.
That's right. You're right. You know what? You're so right about that. That's right.
So what? You didn't get a job at the NBA. Okay, get a job at Sprite and their sports Coca-Cola Sprite's sports advertising group. Like, there's so many ways to get into sports and entertainment that are not specifically your traditional sports and entertainment gigs. And I'm like, and then make your way to where you want to go. And so
Yes.
that's the biggest point to me, is working with younger people on just helping them figure out how to get in, because there's not a lot of jobs at each place, but there are a lot of jobs in sports and entertainment that are non-traditional.
Well, you all heard her. Listen up.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of young people, what advice would you give young people interested in a career in law, sports, or just general advice on growth?
Okay. One, it's consistency is key. I think and your absolute best effort is key. I think that's one of the giving your best effort every single time is key. Another thing I would tell people is don't get discouraged. You'll make contacts through LinkedIn, through somebody will introduce you. That person doesn't get back to you right away. It's fine. Don't bug them. You don't have to keep asking them for things. But if you let them know where you are, just generally, that's what I tell people all the time. I am notorious. My best friends will tell you, I am notoriously horrible with texts. Halima, tell them.
Yeah, I mean, it really. When did I send you a text message? Like 10 years ago?
Horrible. But I see it. I see the message. And then when someone says, but no, the point is that for young people, when someone says to me, oh, do you know a lawyer that's doing it? And I'm like, yup. And then I could just go. But I can't do that if you don't tell me. So people have busy schedules.
Yes, they do. Yes,
And we see the messages. We see them. Just let us know where you are. Make sure people understand where you are and what you're trying to do. I know people say all the time, best things to move in silence. I'm like, if you're moving in silence, how can I help you? I don't know what people say all the time. Keep your. I'm like, okay, but if I don't know what you want to do, how do I know?
Yeah,
Because
that's a different kind of silence. Okay, I mean, I can understand other things in silence, but this is different.
yeah. So if you have a goal, a career goal, there's someone that you want. Don't be ashamed to say, "Hey, I want to do that." I know you
Yes,
might not have time to meet me for lunch, but this is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm on my way to. And if
exactly.
you're hitting me with this every now and again, when the people ask, "Do you know somebody that's trying to do?" Yup, I do. Just give me 4 seconds because I just have to search because I know they sent me something about marketing, and I can find it
Yeah,
and make the connection. Um, so to stay in touch with people and don't get discouraged. Um, the worst that could possibly happen is nothing.
yeah, exactly. You just got to keep trying, and
Hmm.
that's some great advice because. I mean, you and I both know this has been a journey for you, for me, and it's going to continue. We're always students,
Hmm.
always. It doesn't stop.
Always,
Um,
yeah,
and with much difficulty comes relief. And boy, whenever relief comes, it sure feels good. And
yeah.
you're so grateful. So you have done an amazing job,
Oh,
Joy.
thank you,
I
thank
want to I want to thank you for joining me, for gracing my audience. This has been an informative and inspirational conversation. I sincerely thank you for being passionately purposeful
you.
in
Oh,
all that you do for your industry, for the community, and just for being an overall amazing woman of color catalyst. So thank you for your contributions, your hard work, and your
thank you.
beautiful spirit. I really appreciate you.
Kalima, thanks so much for the platform and thanks for everything you're doing for the industry and for women of color. Because I think again, part of just knowing, part of going somewhere is knowing where you want to go. And so
Oh,
just having this
yes.
available for people to say like, oh, that seems like cool. That's a great job. Thank you.
Hey, listen, thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Remember, this segment will be available on the Anything and Everything Media YouTube channel, as well as on all major podcast platforms. To learn more about Anything and Everything Media, visit our website at www.anythingandeverythingmedia.com. Until then, next time, y'all always know what I always say, keep it moving.